Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone is well. Welcome to day one of the Coaching Summit. We're here with our second session already. It's gone so quickly already this morning. So whether you're here for just one session, all of them maybe, or just a few of them, we are absolutely delighted that you've decided to join us today. Just to let you know that all of the sessions do have the option to enable captions if you wish. So we've got a busy day ahead of us, so I'm going to now introduce our second speaker of the day. We are delighted to have Viki Howden with us, and her session is Revolutionising Education with Integrative Coaching. Good morning, Viki. Thanks so much for being here this morning. I'm going to hand over to you.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. So, actually, I was just saying, my name is Viki Howden, and I'm going to have a look at education in the perspective of how can we maximize coaching and mentoring in different parts of the educational settings. So a bit about me. In the last 6 years, I heavily involved in coaching and mentoring, trained just under 150 coaches, and also involved with mentoring student teachers. And over the last few years, I've realized that there is lots of similarities between the coaching and the teaching curriculum. However, this is not translated into the educational settings. So my mission is very much trying to bridge the gap between how we can maximize the impact of education. Doesn't matter if it's from early years to further education or actually organizational training settings, by maximizing the impact of learning. So if we look at neurodiversity or different needs, sometimes we have a prescriptive way of delivering education, and that not necessarily fits with everybody. So today we're gonna focus on different aspects. So bear with me for a moment while I share my screen. This is where it's gonna go well or not. Hopefully something is happening. I can still see people, which is excellent.
We've got you, Viki.
So you got excellent, very, very good. So what I want to talk about here is around the focus for the day. So we really need to have a think how we are utilizing effective learning. So you can see a quick quote in there. The pace of change now is the slowest it's ever going to be. Yeah. And I'll just pause there for a moment. What does that actually mean for us? We're never going to have this slow change ever again because of the tech and the AI advancements, meaning that we have to have the lifelong learning in our DNA. We have to champion this more than ever. So let's look at how we can reignite the passion of educators to create better learning opportunities using coaching and mentoring skills, many of which is really present in the teacher education and the teacher curriculum. However, what I observed in the last 6 years, that these skills disappear after 2 to 3 years, or actually never really manifest in the classrooms. And we really need to think about how can we turn it into an opportunity to develop a systematic change in education. So before I go into the framework I want to talk about, I would like to ask you a couple of questions. So type away in the chat for me, please. So what specific issues do you see in aligning education with work ready, and how would you describe the gap between the students, what they are learning in schools, and what skills required in the modern workplace? So I'm just gonna give you a minute or so, and then fire away in the chat. I think I might be able to find the chat somewhere. And there it is. No. I might need your help on this one, Shelley. Oh no, don't worry, I got it.
Got it.
I managed to figure it out. Okay, financial acumen, yes, absolutely. Oh, good point from Sarah. Absolutely, there will be jobs which exist now, but maybe by 2030, it's not there. absolutely. Acumen, critical thinking, creativity. Yep. Soft skills, coding, practical, vocational things, like politics. Yep. Absolutely. Emotional skills, finance, life skills, planning and organizational skills, adaptability. Oh, loving this. I'm really loving this. Oh, yes, I know what you mean about moving away from the creativity, and it is concerning. I give you that. So just a bit of a context before I show my next question in here is what we know from research that by 2030, which bear in mind in 6 years' time, 30% of our workforce will be Gen Z, and also our Gen Alpha, born since 2010, is joining the workforce. We currently don't know how Gen Alpha is going to behave in the workplace, but we know what we need in terms of successful performance. Everything, those skills, what you just highlighted for me. And you kind of covered my second question is around what skills we need for the next 10 years. It is very, very clear. We know it from research. CIPD and CMI carried out many research reports and activities around what we need to ensure that our future is effective and proved. However, learning is not keeping up to date with this one. Yeah. So think about learning adaptability, learning and adaptability, or learning adaptability as well. We absolutely have to have the resilience, emotional resilience, well-being, digital technology and technological skills. It's all identified in your chat as well. Critical thinking, self-leadership, and the ability to challenge and take feedback on. We know already how Gen Z is not taking things at face value. They are going to challenge stuff in the workplace. I will be very interesting having a Gen Alpha in my family when my daughter is entering the workforce to see how we need to adapt. But let's go back to these skills. What we need to do now is learn new things at a speed which we haven't done before, not for the younger generations, but us in the workplace as well. And a very important aspect in here, we need to unlearn and let things go. So again, let's just pause there for a moment. Unlearn and let things go. Yeah, it's not something what was, let's say, 10 years ago as important. How can we use critical thinking skills in the age of AI, where we might not know what is real and what is not? And someone put in, a couple of you put in the chat function as well, the opportunities to innovate and thinking creatively. Yeah, all of these are underpinned by education. And don't take it, I'm not here to slam any educational system. I'm just here to open eyes and say change has to happen, because if we are not changing now, something will make us change. And I'd rather have the proactive approach than the reactive approach. We, of course, operating in a macro environment. And I suppose there is a disconnect between educational environments and the world of work. If I speak with any educational leaders, current teachers, for example, who I work with or mentor in my role, or actually the most interesting ones are those who left the profession due to burnout. They all say that yes, we are preparing the next generation for work, we are following the strict curriculum, and then we are reaching the aims. Yeah, but perhaps we are not willing to admit that the current way of we are teaching is not achieving the aims for the future. Put it in another way, if we are not doing something differently now, what will be the longer term cost of maximizing the educational impact for the future? Yeah. So we know that we need creative thinking. We know that we need innovation. But that should happen as soon as the learners are entering schools from the very young age. We should enable facilitated debates We need to break down the barriers of hierarchy in the system of education. We have to involve the learners. And this is taking us a step closer. How can they get the real experiences later in the life? So when I work closely with L&D and HR professionals, many times I hear them to say, okay, there is a dilemma. We have I don't know, 5, 10 people joining the workforce. They just left school and they don't know how to self-manage. They don't know how to take responsibility for a very small project, or even the simplest thing. They're afraid to ask for help because they don't want to be seen as a weakness, or they don't want to be seen as they don't know it. So what we also know is that the next 15 years, we are moving towards flatter and thinner organizational structures where we have to have agile decision making. And this is all mirrored, or should be mirrored, in learning settings. Otherwise, we almost like creating dependent learners, and that can be a huge problem for the workplace. So it's almost like we're doing our stuff, and then we are putting an extra, so much burden, but a responsibility then to the workplace to try to fix things which we could have implemented years and years before. So this is where the integration of coaching and mentoring comes in. Because think about reverse mentoring. Reverse mentoring is a very good tool to enable this, because you can have a teacher and then you can have a learner participating in mentoring sessions, or an educational leader and the learner participate those reverse mentoring sessions. And you can even take this a step further, and very much this needs to mirror the age relative content. What's stopping us to actually assign safeguarding considerations, of course, keeping in touch, having a reverse mentor for individuals outside of the organization from industry, to have the opportunities for the learner to have half an hour every so often to learn. Some organizations already put this in place. It is a perfectly scalable solution. So that's one part of the equation, though. The other part in here is you really need to role model these agile behaviors in the learning settings. So if we are not doing that, we potentially creating an issue when the learner is entering the work. They don't have the psychological prompts, and they will fall behind in the world of work because, oh wow, endless choice. I need to make decision. I need to time manage. I need to have creativity. I need to have critical thinking skills. And academic knowledge is important, but the soft skill part is so important. Some of you in the chat talked about we are teaching things and those jobs might not be there. That is very true. We know that the development of AI will replace some jobs, and we need to upskill rapidly. And this is where the integration of coaching and mentoring comes in again as well, because we have to have a different way of delivering the learning in the classrooms. The too prescriptive and too regimented way of teaching in classrooms create issues, psychological and mental health issues later on in the workplace. We need to have independent learners who can lead, who can learn and adapt at all the time. If we are too prescriptive in the education, that will stop critical thinking skills at the root cause before even we go further. Worst case scenario, it might result in being afraid to make a mistake and ask for help, which again, stopping performance in organizations. Of course, as educators, we always have the human success in mind from a very early age. We can't debate that. We can't create enough opportunities for adaptive learning. And I want you to stop here and then just reflect on it. What is stopping us using perhaps coaching and mentoring in the classrooms as an alternative way of learning? Just put something in the chat. What's your reflection on this? I would love to know that. Curriculum budgets, yeah, okay. Time. Yeah, we're gonna cover time in a moment. Anything else? What else? Yeah, I like that. Around helping them to learn. Leadership, yeah, big one. Like that. Excellent. Okay, lots of great points, and I totally agree with pretty much everything. What we also know as well, that from 2030, it's likely that people will need to change their skills every 1 to 3 years in the work environment, yeah, due to the tech advancement. And my fear at the moment is we are not supporting change readiness and change happiness through learning enough. We must create learners with growth mindset, and we have to have teachers role modeling these growth mindsets throughout the learning journey. And there is another concept in here. We really need to reevaluate education and perhaps move towards the context understanding rather than understanding the content, what we are delivering. What is the context of it? Because that's the only way we can create learners who can think in systems. We work in systems, we live in systems. If we are changing one part of a system, it will have a ripple effect on every single other part of that system. And coaching and mentoring are ways to achieve this. If teachers are participating in regular coaching and mentoring sessions themselves, either in a group setting or reflective supervision, they are a step closer to role model those behaviors which are essential going forward. So this is leading us nicely to the next stage, which is the framework I'm working on at the moment. And yeah, I know it looks a bit messy, but there is a method in the madness. So we have a limited time today, therefore I'm just going to focus on the educator part or trainer part of the model. But if you want to know more, get in touch, let me know. I would love to have a chat with you, because this will be launched later on this year. And I want to work with people who are open-minded and want to make a change, either as an individual, as an educator or trainer, or an educational leader. So what we will see in here, there are a number of players when it comes to education. And this framework is based on my years of observation since 2009. I am involved with one way, shape or form with learning and teaching. And I learned from my peer colleagues. I worked with many L&D and HR professionals, and I'm really keeping up to date with the latest research to understand where are we now and where we need to be. And I always want to see and understand what is the connection between these players. So today we will be focusing on the microenvironment and very much on the educator side. But we have to understand that all of this framework is operating in a larger context where we are looking at governments, legislation, all kind of stuff, what is impacting learning. But this shouldn't stop us making a progress or a change. We'll make it a bit difficult, more difficult, but that shouldn't stop the progress. So let's look at this framework in more details. The center is all around metacognition. How are we supporting individuals so they can learn to learn? We need to teach individuals that our brain has a characteristic of neuroplasticity. We have to explain how we can use learning to make structural changes in our brain. We have to teach people different thinking and learning strategies. Not just give them a book, but apply those and enable tried and tested methods in the classrooms. We also mustn't forget that if we have a too regimented learning environment, that will also create structural changes in the brain. It might block learning and create stress. There's lots of research out there around neuroscience of learning. And if you want to have few links, just message me. I can pull some really interesting stuff together for you so you can read more about it. But let's just look at the world of work for a moment, and then the similarities perhaps with education. I'm sure you heard the terms resenteeism and quiet quitting, where people remain in the job despite they are being unhappy, and then they don't go because they don't have a choice, or actually they leave before they burn out. We see similar things in education as well. We know that the rise of home education is increasing across the country. We know that school avoidance is a real issue, but this can be changed. And I think the devil is in the details. It's all down to the fine aspects of the teacher and learner interaction. And I also think we need to incorporate that reflective practice, all parts of education, from the teachers, but from very early on, young education as well, throughout. And that is an important part of metacognition. That is the only way we are learning from mistakes and learning from failure. We must allow learners to question. We must allow them to give feedback and teach them how to get feedback. Yeah. Again, that is the integration of coaching and mentoring, because these are principles of coaching. I really believe we should have a fourth functional skill in the country, which is learning to learn, but that's a very different debate for another day. But just leave it out there for you. So the core of this framework should be metacognition. And as we move along with the framework, let's just break it down into more segments of it. So culture is the next aspect, which is just as important. Oops, sorry. I'm going on the wrong slide. So we are communicating our culture. Culture has multiple layers. That's given. We are communicating our culture in an educational establishment or work, any part of our life. The way we operate, the way perhaps we do things during the day, the things what we are wearing, the perception of our organization, and the rules we impose. But there is the deeper aspect of the culture, which often gets missed. And those are just as important, if most important, in fact, and that is present in teachers' behaviors, how they are consistent, what kind of beliefs they have, what kind of assumptions they have, what we say, and the way we say these things, and what we believe when it comes to education and learner capability. So we know that culture is underpinned by assumptions and our beliefs around the different parts of the system, participants as well. So parents as well, different partner agencies, the leadership. And if we're looking back to metacognition, do we truly believe that individuals can maximize their performance and can learn? Are we looking at undesirable behaviors as annoyances, or is this a developmental area, not just for the learner, but for the educator and the organization as well, where we really need to understand what are the reasons for these behaviors and what can we do to positively influence this? How can we change to enable individuals to maximize their performance? Then, of course, you have the assumptions around human nature. Having that unconditional positive regard, that is essential for teachers. Again, very much similar with coaching and mentoring. The coaching and teacher curriculum is riddled with this. But sometimes over time, educators lose their unconditional positive regard. And this might be due to, I don't know, burnout, maybe lack of self-awareness, being conditioned to follow rules, how they have to discipline learners. But we need to take a step back in here and have teacher supervision in place and reflective practice. And if we need to, let's reset, let's find better ways. How can we actually support the learners to achieve their best and be delivering the right culture? And this is where I like to have those difficult conversations. And am I popular? Sometimes I'm not. But I do think even if someone either a teacher or a leader, to step back and thinks about it and takes away that, yeah, okay, something is raised. Maybe the culture in the classroom or in the educational establishment is not where it needs to be, then I'm a step closer to achieve my aims. I truly and firmly believe all classrooms should be based on psychological safety. Yeah. All classrooms should be a place where people can go in and okay to ask questions and make mistakes. And this is where our coaching and mentoring role comes in, to reinstall all of those beliefs, assumptions, unconditional positive regard. And hopefully, if we do that from the educator point of view, that will trickle down slowly into the learning environment as well. So just to have a look in the chat, is there anything? I love the one around curiosity, and that's essential, isn't it? Because that is how the creative thinking piece comes in. The generative learning skills. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So we're going to have some time at the end to have a Q&A, but Shelley will monitor the chat as well. So just put some questions in there. And then we're going to come back to Suzanne. Yeah, we're gonna look at that question around the barriers and examination systems. So the next piece of this framework is relating back to skills development. When you look at the teacher curriculum, again, they are learning fairly cool stuff. But over time, and this is where the time element comes in, perhaps skills development stops. And when we are under stress, we know it from leadership development, we tend to revert back to almost a autocratic style. I tell you what to do and you're going to do. Yeah. And it's not necessarily because the individuals are choosing to do it. It's because they are under enormous pressure. It still shouldn't be an excuse to not to think and try and test new things. And I agree, the system is so regulated to make sure that we are delivering the curriculum on time. Absolutely. But we can't revert back to a didactic style of delivery. We can't forget the range of other options we could try to make learning more fun and successful. And I also think if we give teachers skills, which is more than just their curriculum area. So for example, big one, how to have a difficult conversation. Yeah, we all know, parents and learners, where you need to have those difficult conversations. How can I go into those conversations equipped that are gonna be composed, are gonna feel okay? And how can I manage upwards? How can I keep up to date with neurodiversity needs? How can I reflect? So all of these bite-sized CPD opportunities are really helpful. And we need to make time for this. And we need to incorporate this into a term, perhaps. I strongly feel that best teachers I observed and had the fortune to work alongside, they were the ones who were using effective coaching and mentoring skills. And those were the ones who had very deep understanding of their own values, of their own beliefs, of their own assumptions, their behaviors, and as an outcome, understanding why different behaviors are manifesting in their learning environments. Those are the professionals who can apply motivational techniques effectively. Those are the noisy classrooms, those are the safe classrooms. And those are the classrooms where I've seen debates, respectful and controlled debates. Yeah, I don't really agree what you're saying. Just because it's given in the book. We need to think our critical thinking. And yes, sometimes the learner is wrong, but that is where the teacher role comes in to actually correct those. If we are self-aware, we can handle conflict. We can enable controlled debate. When we empower people, we know that they are more resilient. If we are upskilling them, we know that they are more resilient. But that takes, perhaps, sacrificing a bit of time here and there. Therefore, I do think an educational coach in here, the role is to remind the teachers that actually, let's just step back. And then what kind of other skills did you learn? What are your skills gaps? What do you need to make it a success? Yeah. Again, if you look at coaching and mentoring, a safe platform can be a facilitated group discussion or supervised group coaching. They can bring their dilemmas, learn from each other, and from the supervisor. And that is something people can implement with very little training in their organizations in terms of the group coaching aspect. So the next aspect, what I want to talk about is collaboration and community. So reverse mentoring is a good way, which I've seen applied very well between learners and educational leaders. That is an opportunity where people can grow their social skills. Yeah, they understand how things work, and it's breaking down the barriers. You also can look at the wider community building. How can you influence and build relationships between, I don't know, primary, secondary school, further education? Many organizations does this already. But by communicating and talking about this is helping developing those system thinking skills. Action learning sets, again, another cost-effective way. How easy is to dip in different organizations? Use your collaborative partners. Think about, how can I sit down, we have an issue, share resources, collaborate with each other. It's a very easy tool to learn and participate with wider conversations. Why shouldn't we use from early years to FA teachers as part of action learning sets? Learn from each other. What are the challenges we are facing? What are the challenges in early years or in higher education? And the root cause might be in early years and vice versa. Something for us also to think about here. And very important aspect as well, very, very important, and that's all around well-being. If you are addressing the underlying part of this framework, then well-being will become a more achievable aim. We can focus more on mental health support, but my approach would be how we can create mental fitness and resilience so we don't need to action mental health problems. It's unrealistic to say that we're never going to have mental health issues. It's like, oh, I'm never going to break a bone. But by putting things in place to ensure that we are mentally fit and resilient, that hopefully help us prevent, for example, burnout. We can manage stress better, and that is relating to all aspects of the framework: learners, educators, educational leaders, and parents. And then the bigger layer, organizations as well. But this is all underpinned by effective leadership and culture, such as servant leadership or different well-being drivers. Check in your culture. What are we actually communicating in here? I have two very strong values in my life, one of which is learning, and then the other one is creating opportunities for others to learn and maximize their potential. And I'm really advocating to take a step back and let's see how can we use coaching and mentoring more in education, and the principles of coaching and mentoring is perhaps the most important in here. So what I will put on the screen now is just a link for an article, a bit more details around the integrated aspect of coaching. And then if you want, give me an email and then chat me through. I'm more than happy to help you identify coaching opportunities in your learning and training settings. So this is pretty much me. Email me. I'm very active on LinkedIn, or you can get in touch with my through my webpage. But I'm just gonna unshare my screen because I would love to have some conversations or see any chats. What's your thinking now after today? Were there any questions? I lost my mouse. Oh no, there it is. Oh yeah, I will yes, I will post it in a moment. So any questions? Right. So, in terms of encouraging this approach with school, I would have those open conversations to say, how can I actually help this integrative approach? What is used already? The organizations I've seen and worked with, this came naturally for them, the collaboration piece and the reverse mentoring. So I would really have an open conversation with them and say, there is a better way. And we know it from neurodiversity. If we are not going any further, we know that the system often doesn't work. So why not try things? Someone was posting about the curiosity. So important. What makes us stop being curious when we became an educator? At what point that curiosity is gone? So I suppose, to Angela's point, encourage that curiosity, reignite it. There was a question earlier regarding the examination system. Is that a perception? Or is it just an excuse for us to, because of the time constraints and everything else, what we need to do as an educator, that we don't do the change? Is it just a perception? So that's my challenge, I suppose, on that one. What do you think, Georgina?
Sorry. I think that the education system and the constraints of how students are assessed at the moment is really restrictive. I know that in senior school, I mean, I'm an international educator. I said on the chat, I've been overseas for 24 years, so I'm very lucky. And a lot of what you are talking about, the coaching or mentoring, we've got 22 children in our class with well-resourced classrooms, and we're very lucky in that respect. However, you know, having my own kids also have gone through the UK system, and we do teach GCSE and IB in our school. Yes, you've got a lot more flexibility in Key Stage 3 in the senior school, and we've introduced like a topic type program. But once you hit your IG or GCSE program, you really do have a lot of constraints there because you've got to teach the knowledge. You know, I think there's a lot extra that schools can do, and we're very fortunate that we have a lot of the extra beyond the classroom stuff that we provide in our school. But I really do feel that the actual examination years, those 4 years, if kids are staying on as well to do A levels or IB, you've got to get through the knowledge, because you can't have a child sit down and exam. I completely agree that perhaps before that, you can teach all the skills of resilience, you can teach the skills of problem solving, you can teach the skills of social skills, of self-regulation. All of those are really important, because if a kid sits down in an exam and initially doesn't know the answer straight away to a question, they've got to try and think of those skills to then go, okay, how does this question, what can I remember about this question? What does that link to other parts of the, you know, things that I've learned about? So I think it's really important to teach all of those, but I do feel that there's a lot of constraint with the examination system as it is at the moment. And I think that also comes from the universities, and the universities that are expecting those results. And wouldn't it be wonderful?
And you know what?
Yeah.
And you know what? I totally agree. The examination system and the system is not going to change in the next couple of years. It's unrealistic for us to think that there will be a sudden change just because there is AI, just because there is tech. What I think the way forward is to making those small transformational changes, and eventually, because we don't know what's going to happen in 2035.
Yep.
We might not even need as much knowledge to be delivered, because everything will be replaced with a platform, call it AI, whatever we call it. But what we can't replace is that soft skill, the resilience and well-being, because it's really, really that's not replaceable. But transformational change is the only way to make the system change in long term. And I like what you said around everything else what we can do, and still catering for the current need of the examination, because that's not going anywhere. Let's be very honest, isn't it? Yeah. So I totally get you. I totally get you. Thanks for that. Is there anything else, Shelley? Any other questions? I was not looking at the chat.
Okay, just having a quick look for you now. There's lots and lots of thanks yous. I'm really enjoying your session, just to let you know, excellent session, which is lovely to see.
Amazing.
I think that's it for questions for now.
No, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining. Like I said, I would love to continue the conversation with like-minded individuals, and I do appreciate the system is not going to be changed overnight, but let's see what other small transformational changes we can do. So yeah, get in touch.
Thanks, Viki. I'll get you to share your details. Did you want to pop that in the chat now, or are you going to share it in the warm-up group?
I will share it in the warm-up group if that's okay. I need to just get the link off.
Great. So if anybody can, anyone who needs Viki's details, just pop it to the warm-up group, the Facebook group, that one is. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Viki. Your session this morning has been amazing. I know everyone will be taking away some really valuable information with them today. Just a last one from us. So again, obviously, we know that you've hopefully all been inspired and wondering if you need to take your coaching journey next. So to support you in that, we're hosting 2 Q&A sessions this Friday, the 5th of July, 9:30 a.m. The first one is with Zoe, and that's about training to be a coach. And then at 12:30, the Q&A is with Joe about our CPD courses, emotion coaching practitioner training, and our foundations of group and team coaching courses. But thank you everybody so much for today. It's been so lovely to see so many of you here joining Viki, and we will hopefully see you on some other sessions for the rest of the day. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye bye.